Yeah.
Yay!
Hey,
Can anybody hear us? Give us a
I'm gonna
sign
have
if you're
a
there.
look because I
How is
pulled up.
everybody? If you've woken up super early to join us, then thank you.
Yeah,
If you haven't woken up super early to join us, you're just here anyway. Thank you as well.
yeah. Let us know if you're here.
Yeah, just give us a
Yes.
wave.
Yeah. Give us a wave or maybe throw some tomatoes.
Rude.
No, man, tomatoes are nice.
I'm growing some tomatoes in my garden at the moment. They're
Oh,
starting to.
nice. I'm not growing much in my garden. Not even the herbs are. Wow. The mm, little bit, not much.
Not a lot.
A little bit chives.
Yeah, I
But
chives.
it's getting cool here now.
Is it?
Mm, which I'm glad because we had this heat wave,
Oh, you
and
did when you had all the wind coming in from
yeah, and now it's
from the
nice, but
east.
it's definitely a nice chill early morning. It was nice this morning when we walked dogs in the dunes, and we've been going to the dunes also in the evenings lately, which is really nice. Sun's already set. I wouldn't go by myself. I mean, you don't want to, something funny happens, whatever. I don't want to be stuck out there in the
No, it's the last thing
night,
you want.
right? But when it's
Yeah.
Oliver and John's along and so on, and it feels different. And last night he said, the only thing to worry about now is a hyena.
Oh, that helps. That makes you
About
feel a whole heap
hyenas.
better. Thanks for that, John.
Anyway, the dog's
Yeah.
enjoying it. Lots of running around. Looks like nobody's here. I don't see anybody.
No, well, it is a different time, so that's information. Hopefully, people are watching on catch up.
True, true, true. So we have a good topic today too, hey?
Yes, we do indeedy. So, why is it that your dog reacts and other people's don't? Because it's so frustrating, isn't it?
It totally, hey, you keep thinking, why is my dog like this? Why can't my dog be like that one? For me, it's often I watch Falky lose his marbles, when the neighbor dog grumbles in their yard or barks in their yard, and the other two dogs are just like whatever. I
Yeah.
keep like, I keep
So
saying,
you've
oh
got
yeah,
you've got the two contrasts within your own dogs,
exactly. Yeah. So two of them are just like they couldn't care less. And he's like, wow.
completely losing
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Absolutely.
And I
That's
think
such a
that's
good
kind
one.
of the overarching theme, isn't it,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. No, totally. So, but it can also be simply what our expectations are. So if you guys ever thought, you saw your dog react to something that you thought was really no big deal, then put that in the chat. Let us know what it will be, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few people in our posts mention a couple of things, haven't we? The
Oh,
little
that's
things
right.
like Irene talked about her dog reacting to chopping food on a glass chopping board. Anjanette spoke about any noise outside he can't see. So there's all sorts of different things. There was a ring doorbell, all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, there's all sorts of things that people have mentioned, weird and wonderful stuff that you think, what is it about my dog that means that they are reacting, whereas Mr. Chill McSnoozy over there, someone else's dog. Hi, Shawnee. Is just chilling out and got their paws up and like nothing's happening at all. And it can, I don't know, it's demoralizing, isn't it? Because you think,
Hmm.
what have I done wrong? So there are
Yeah.
lots of different reasons. So, I mean, we talked about last week about how reactivity is communication. So why is it that why are our dogs communicating what they're communicating when they're reacting when others don't? and what is it that they're communicating that us and don't? I suppose those are the two questions really to have a look at, aren't they?
Running around. Why
Oh,
is it
sorry,
that
I
some
didn't realise
breeds
I'd
have
lost
to
you. I was too
shout?
busy looking at the Zoom chat.
No, no worries. I just had to close the door. I don't know why it is that some blokes just have to shout at the top of the voice, as if he had carrying a walkie-talkie, but he's talking on his phone, actually.
Yeah.
Give me a
So
pain.
let's
Anyway,
break it down. Why dogs react differently?
mm. I mean, the first one, of course, is just genetics, right? I mean, if I compare or just look at my two youngsters, I know that when I first mentioned to my friend, who happens to be the breeder too, how bikey he is, she's like, he has that from, he might have that from um his dam, maybe not,
We
right?
don't know.
But
Yeah.
anyway, and then but I do know that when we, you know, the Stevie, the reason that we have Stevie is simply because I was totally excited when I heard about that particular breeding, because I know some of those dogs and I just love the temperament of those dogs,
Mm,
right? So often, it can just be that dogs just bring certain things with them in their genetics, and that can be because of their breed type, or it could be the personality, right, of the dog. Certain sensitivities and fears, right?
there
Fears.
are some breeds and some lines that have been bred specifically to be more sensitive for lots of very good reasons, aren't
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
Mm.
I mean, look, here I sit with my border collies. I mean, they're super sensitive dogs, right? And then you can't blame them if they react to things that stand out for them, whether that is, it's just sensory stuff. I mean, like for Folky, it's noises, but it can, also be pictures. I know that the other two definitely react when they see out of the ordinary pictures.
Yeah.
So, and then, also certain things that some dogs do. I mean, again, with my dogs, it's the nipping. So if Stevie can be a little shy or scared of people sometimes, and then if she gets pushed, then she might start nipping. But it's not, it's that sort of border collie nip, which actually is part of, that whole herding
It is, isn't it? It's like
thing. Yeah.
move along, move
So,
along.
yeah. I mean, it's still not okay, in those
Yeah, but that's
situations,
why.
but that is why, right? It explains it. And I mean, you guys, some of you have specific dog breeds, with specific traits, I should say. And I'm sure there's stuff that your dog does this because they're bred for it. And if you've got some examples, share them in the comments, because it's always it helps, right? It helps us, and it helps um, first of all, it helps somebody else with a similar dog maybe recognize why this is
Yeah.
happening. But I think the cool thing about knowing, that something might be genetic is it wasn't your fault. I didn't.
Blooming heck, yes. It kind of makes it's that, whew, it wasn't me.
Yeah,
But to
yeah,
be perfectly honest, most of it will make you feel like that.
true.
Because, if I look at my dogs, for example, I think a lot of what their sensitivity and their overreaction comes from early experiences and things that they've learned. So, you know, my two were both born. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea about their genetics whatsoever. There could be a huge amount of genetics, certainly lots of epigenetics in there. But they would also they were both born into environments that weren't very pleasant. So their very early formative experiences wouldn't have been great. And that's one of the reasons, when we look at puppy farms and that kind of thing, we end up with dogs that do have some of these issues, because they haven't had that structured early life experiences when they're teeny weeny to build up their confidence, build up their resilience, grow, make sure that they grow up with nice big buckets.
Mm, mm. I love that. That's the thing. Growing up with big buckets or form big buckets rather than, oh, I just need lots of exposure to other dogs. Because often, people inquire about, can I bring my, do you have a dog class, this, and the other, because they want their dogs, or they explain some of the overreaction with the dog hasn't met many other dogs, right? But neither do my dogs,
Yeah, exactly. And
right?
it's
It's
just
not
that
about that. It's about
yeah.
growing up feeling safe and having lots of different experiences. It's not about being constantly exposed to other dogs. I think very often it is the accidental few exposures that put them totally over threshold, right?
Mm. Or I mean, there was a study somewhere that actually there was a link between there was a correlation between dogs going to puppy classes and dogs developing reactivity. So because the problem is that the interactions often aren't very well managed in those scenarios. You know, if you just chuck them all in together, you can end up having bad experience. So the reality is that going through those sorts of things with little dogs without doing it properly creates more problems than it solves. So yeah, you end up with shrunky down buckets rather than nice big cavernous ones. And then, of course, we've also got the bad experience, haven't we? You know, and I'm sure we've all known a dog who was, bitten by another dog or kicked by a person or had, a car backfire right next to them. Any kind of bad experiences, it's all it takes. It's that snapshot learning that the dog gets from one horrible, super stressful experience. And that can stick with them forever unless we really work with it. Barbara's got a recalcitrant puppy. Oops.
I don't know what is going on. Something is setting off the dogs, and John was walking around earlier shouting. I don't know if he had a delivery or
Yeah, it
kind of
always happens when you go on a live, though, isn't it? It's
yeah.
like we click go live, and then the environment kicks off.
It's like
I
madhouse.
know.
Yeah, no, totally.
So yeah, there's all those kind of formative stuff,
Mm.
and then there's the kind of physical bits, isn't there?
Yeah. So you talked about the bucket already, right?
Uh-huh.
So and if dogs are not well physically, not feeling well, then the bucket is already half full, right? Like like ours. Like I didn't sleep so well last night. So that already means that I have a much shorter fuse today.
You have your grumpy pants on, is what I always say, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that
Grumpy
one.
pants
Yeah.
firmly on.
Yeah. So then it helps, if your dog already has a really deep bucket, but if they just have a teacup, then,
Well, yeah,
so it's got a lot to do with the individual capacity and then, how we go about helping them live with that bucket. So very often, we have to make sure that they get enough rest, right? And that they,
100%.
prevent the bucket from overflowing and being aware of what goes in there. And then if you have things like the dog physically not being well,
Yep.
any kind of pain, right? Any discomfort. And sometimes that sort of thing is hard to know, right? Because
Really, really
the
is.
dogs don't really share when they're not feeling well. It's not in their nature. So if you notice pain signs,
Yeah, then it's bad, isn't it, if there are pain
exactly.
signs?
Yeah.
you know that it's pretty rubbish at that point.
There's I saw a little reel shared, which was, from a vet, for people. And I think it was limping. It was about limping. Limping is a sign of pain. And when I watched it, I was thinking, hello? Yeah, limping is a sign of pain for sure. But it just shows you, there's a reason why this particular, why this vet felt they needed to get that out. And even something as obvious as a limp can be overlooked.
Yeah,
Because the dogs are so tough, because they still run around, can't be up because they're still playing. Or, you know what I mean? They're just really, really very tough cookies often. But then the reason that they're actually not, that they're really sensitive, comes then out in these other ways where they overreact. And then that contrast can just exacerbate the misunderstanding, right? When we look
exactly
at
that.
it.
Exactly that. Plus their stress level. Dogs get
Yeah,
stressed just like us. With,
yeah,
I'm just thinking, I've got a fly buzzing around in here at the moment. For a dog, that can be really stressful.
yeah.
Quite
I
stressful for me, to be fair. It's really irritating me.
Yeah, I can hear Stevie bark still. Let me just go and I don't know.
Could be a fly.
Stresses me out. Can't focus. What is
It
going on?
does. It completely um, puts you off. So yeah, think about
Let's set off with everybody else.
that stress bucket. Some dogs have massive buckets. In fact, one of my jobs for this week is going to be recording a lovely bucket video. So that will go on some
Can't
of our
wait.
pages.
I'm
I
really
know.
looking forward to that.
There are many buckets now in my house ready to advise. Some of them are massive, not that big, like a normal bucket, and then some of them are quite teeny weeny, and that's like our dogs, isn't it? So we know that, and that's not something we've necessarily created. A lot of that is just things that have happened outside our control.
Yeah. Talking about buckets, I've got a bunch in the kitchen on the counters. I've been pickling olives.
Oh, nice.
Lots and lots. But we're not talking about olives, we're talking about dogs.
Olives are nice though. Green or black olives?
Okay. So the main thing that we wanted to talk or wanted to get across today is that whatever is happening, right? The overreactions that your dog might present to things that other dogs or normal dogs or your other dogs or somebody else's dogs don't react to, that doesn't mean that your dog is the baddie or broken or anything like that. It just means that they're telling you that there are certain things that they need more support around.
Exactly. Exactly that.
Yeah. So rather than comparing, like you said in the beginning, hey Julia, what was
Thief
it?
of joy, thief of joy,
Mhm.
yes.
So don't let the joy be thieved.
Thieved.
We want to always start from a place of understanding, right? So something surprising, why the heck is that setting them off? So let's try and understand that rather than trying to control it
Exactly.
and ditch the comparison because it's not helpful.
It's utterly pointless.
Mm. And then how can we support sensitive dogs? Well, lots of predictability, but also choices, and most importantly, a lot of rest, right?
Exactly that. Shawnee says, is anybody there? Well, we're here, Shawnee. So yeah, it's just us at the moment. I think we're going to have lots of catch-ups later because we
Yeah,
change the time.
so
We're going to go
good
next week back to
information.
the an hour later, I think. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
think
going
so
to
too.
work better for
This
people,
time's not
isn't
so
it?
good. Yeah. But in the meantime, for you, Shawnee, and then also anyone who's watching on the replay, we've got a little task for you. So if you notice a way that your dog's sensitivity or a slight overreaction to something or a big overreaction, or a genetic trait. Just notice just one thing, pick something, a behavior, that is really too strong for your liking for something, or maybe just um, reactive a reaction. And then instead of figuring out how can I fix this, how do I correct this, let's get curious about it.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So I've got an example I want to know about more, and that is I was telling Julia about it earlier. So I've got, as you know, I've got all these lovely border collies, and Stevie can be a real bitch with her brother, particularly with the brother, not so much with
Literally.
Noah. And one situation where she abuses him all the time, and there's lots of herding sort of traits come out. And then something that absolutely is a no-no is I can't take him by the collar to help him, from here to there, right?
Hmm.
Like you would, in certain situations, help him gently back on his bed or whatever, or just get him into the other area here. And obviously, there's lots of management going on in my house, so sometimes you just have to do that. She, she won't allow it. She'll abuse him, bless him. So, which of course
No.
then means that he gets negative experiences around being grabbed by me on his collar, which is not good. So, okay, now I can just say, okay, well, it's just herdy behavior, border collie, blah, blah. But I think I want to find out a little bit more what exactly it is that triggers that, because it doesn't happen always. It's not the collar grab, right? It's certain situations. It's not just a movement either.
Right.
I need to figure out if I learn something or what I observe, I'll let you know.
That sounds, yeah. Right, we have a question.
Oh, yeah.
So the question was from Julie Rivers in the group. Um, and she asks about a specific situation. I have a lovely elevated deck where I can chillax, and my dog Ula can see dogs coming up the road from a few hundred meters. He alerts, barks a few times, and then, almost always, unless the dog on the street is super reactive, will come to me and put himself in a voluntary downstay. This is huge progress to what he used to do. My response now is thank you, all done, and all done seems to now work. But I'm wondering if thanking him is the right message. Should I just say all done? That's a really interesting question. And firstly, well done, because that response sounds absolutely great, to be honest, from him. The fact that he's barking and then he's making a really considered choice to disengage from the other dog and to re-engage with you instead. So that would be my first point, is hooray for you. What do you
Yeah.
think about the thank you and all done thing, Barbara?
Yeah, well, I don't think it matters.
I agree.
But I'm curious, Julie, you say all done seems to now work. And I would like to know what you mean by that.
I suppose by work we're talking prevent further reactivity.
Well, I don't know. I would like to know from Julie, right? What does that mean? Because in order to say all done, thank you, or what to do in that scenario, we need to know what it is that you expect beyond what he's doing.
Yeah.
No? And the thing is, ideally, so I totally agree with you, Julia, about how brilliant it is to see the progress. That's always fab, right? And we have to always celebrate that. That's what I meant by always.
Absolutely.
Really, really good. So I'm so happy that you pointed it out. And you need to absolutely celebrate that. And then the next question is, okay, so there is still a little bit of overreaction is still there, right? So he does bike. when he sees a dog. He still does bark, but it's now bearable. And unless the dog on the other street is now super reactive. So if a lot of shit goes on, right, and the whole neighborhood gets set off, that sort of thing, or that dog reacts and so on and so on, then there's responses, which is natural. I mean, I'm not, this is great. Oh, no, it's not great, but it is natural. But here's the thing. Often when we have a challenge like this, we tend to say, okay, this is heaps better. I cannot live with this. And then we stop.
Yeah.
Right? But our dogs are still showing us that they're still not 100% happy because they're still, barking. And it would be nice to keep whatever it is. So here are the questions now. Number one is, what were the things that got you from wherever you were before to this place, right? So what could we do more now so that that Ula doesn't, have to bark first, but like says, oh, there's dogs coming, and then comes to you, right? To change that emotional response even further. And then the other question, like I said earlier, is when you say all done seems to work, what is all done supposed to do? Is it supposed to reinforce the coming and lying down, right? Or is it supposed to release Ula from that voluntary downstay so she can then go and, do other things again? What is it that you would like what kind of work do you want it to do? Because then we can see. And I mean, in the end, the words don't really matter. Words matter as much as what your emotion is behind it. So thanking our dogs is always a good thing, right? Because it's positive words and it comes with positive emotion, whereas an all done can be more like, can have a more controlling feel. So from that angle, I would definitely go and say thank you is great.
I think so, yeah.
Mm.
And I think it's nice for you as well, for where your headspace is.
Yeah. So, but definitely I would invite you to think about what it is that what work are the words supposed to do? Because if you are worried, because you put that now in brackets, so if there is a little bit of a worry that it's not quite doing the thing, then we can think about how we can reinforce that.
Yeah.
Right? And reinforcing, what is reinforcing, that is always, our dogs will tell us what we need to use there.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Julie, let us know if this is satisfactory. Also, sometimes, it's always possible that we misunderstand something. So let's have a little conversation in the group about it. And thanks so much for posting your question, because people have been a little bit stingy with questions of late.
I know. And I know they've got them. Because that's where
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much. Cool.
Super.
Right. Okay. Well, Shawnee, is there something you want to talk about, seeing that you're here?
You've got our undivided attention.
Yeah, Steve is the puppy. Well, yeah, 9 months, I think she is now.
She's a teenager now, isn't she, really?
Quite a bitchy one.
Quite literally. Ah, dear. Too funny. So, yeah, we'll be an hour later, I think. Let me just double check what we said. Next week.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what we said.
We did, didn't we? And then we will probably be similar moving forwards, won't we?
Yeah.
Might be.
I mean, the whole point of doing these different times is to figure out.
Yeah, that seemed to work. So we'll see what happens next week and then take it from there. Although we need to work out what we'll do the week after next, but we can worry about that another day. Well,
At some point we might come, get I don't know if you go to a fixed time or whether we do
keep moving it a little bit.
A little bit, we'll see, right? But
Yeah.
today was definitely informative.
Super duper.
Great. Okay. Well, then let's leave it at that. I think there's a bit of a delay for
There's
sure.
always a bit of a delay, yeah. So
Yeah.
just double checking. Yep, no questions on that, which is fab. We will see you next week, lovely people.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Cheers.